Welcome to Loup TV. I'm your host, Gene Munster, joined by Loup's Andrew Murphy and Doug Clinton. Our topic today is Apple, albeit very briefly, touching the $3 trillion market cap. The reason I wanted to have Andrew and Doug on the line here is that we go back, we have some history here with Apple. We don't need to enumerate the 15 or so years that we have researched and invested in Apple. But great to have Andrew and Doug here. And maybe just as a starting point for myself, a good reminder, can you remind me what year we all started working on Apple together?
I joined the party around 2004. So post iPod, pre iPhone.
I think that's pretty much the time we initiated coverage. And Doug?
I think I was around 2008. So I was right in the heart of the iPhone. And I'm curious, in 2004, what was the market cap of Apple? Was it 15 billion?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. When we initiated coverage, I think it was somewhere between 8 and 15 billion, in that range. I think it had actually gone up from like 8 to 14, $15 billion. Kind of a fun fact is the stock had doubled based on this software that they came out with they acquired somebody called Music Man, I think it was. Andrew, can you do a fact check on me here?
Yeah.
And then they kind of morphed that into iTunes. And when we initiated coverage, we initiated with a neutral because we thought, well, this is a hardware company, and here we are. The stock has doubled on this software. And then I guess like a bolt of lightning, shortly after we initiated, we got a different perspective after playing around with iTunes and understanding that Apple had bigger ambitions beyond just making computers and kind of a one-off device with the iPod. And
part of that bolt of lightning, Gene, was a gift from your parents. Is that correct? Can you tell that story?
I got a holiday gift from my parents, the original iPod, just a couple months after it came out. And I remember opening up and looking at it thinking, this is a gift that I really want, and I'm so excited to use it. And we've told the story before. We couldn't get I did not own a Mac. We would go into the post-production people at the time, Piper Jaffray. They were nice enough to let us use their computers, and I would rip CDs onto my iPod and realize that I got to get a Mac. I like to say that was one of the first halo effects. Mike Olson, who was on the team, he was the fourth member of the team. He came up and coined that term, the halo. When you buy an iPod, you're more likely to buy a Mac. So that was the beginning of it. The purpose of this, by the way, was not for us to reach back in the archives. It's more to look forward, that each time we cross these hurdles, in the case of Apple, was originally getting past the $100 pre-adjusted price target, and then trillion and $2 trillion. And would like to, I have a view. I'd like to maybe start with Andrew. When you think about Apple going forward, where's the company in the next, let's say, 3 to 5 years?
Well, I think they'll continue to do what's gotten them to 3 trillion. First, it's the fact that every few years, a company needs to reinvent itself to succeed in the way that Apple has. Secondly, it's the fact that they reinvent themselves into something larger and bigger that builds on an existing base. What they've done is a case study in building a business. They'll continue to do that into future product categories. We've talked a lot about the car. We've talked a lot about healthcare. And those two categories, I think, are important for Apple going forward, insofar as they can figure out how to reinvent themselves as a transportation company, or currently already underway, the reinvention as a health company, in a way that builds on the existing base. So in 3 to 5 years, I see Apple very similar to what it is today, in continuing to build on those businesses.
Love it. Doug?
I always you guys know me. I always look for the contrarian view, and I think the contrarian view might be that smartphones aren't going to go anywhere for longer than people think. That's where I would start. And the iPhone franchise is as strong as it's ever been. I think it's kind of that simple over the next 3 to 5 years. I think in 5 years, we're still going to be calling each other. We're going to be doing FaceTimes. We're going to have our Zoom meetings on Apple devices, whether that be Macs or iPads or iPhones. There will probably be other new devices in that mix that will be a minority of revenue in 3 to 5 years, maybe bigger longer term. But the big picture to me is just that, you know, the iOS franchise helmed by the iPhone is very strong.
Yeah, it's put up with a lot of threats, whether it's through competing stores or some regulatory. They've navigated that almost flawlessly. Credit to Tim Cook for doing that. And there's a piece that I appreciate, kind of how we all are independent thinkers, a piece that I believe strongly in is that the metaverse, Doug, you hinted towards it there with the new devices. I think that this is something that this is the next page in terms of hardware. And I think that's why Facebook has done what it's done around the rebranding. I think that's why Zuckerberg has been so animate about the opportunity around creating devices around the metaverse, is that he is probably a little tired of what in his view is destiny being controlled by Apple. And I think that is a testimony to what Apple has built, is you have these other massive tech companies that are trying to go at it alone. Loup is an investor in Facebook based on the metaverse opportunity. We're big believers in Apple and think that these two companies are really going to duel it out in 2022 for the top performing FANG stock. So I think maybe the consensus view between the three of us is there's more to come. And maybe to end on a thought here is, what do you think will surprise people about Apple over the next year? We'll start with Andrew.
I think an MR headset would be a surprise, even though lots of folks are talking about that and expecting it. Everyone was expecting the iPhone as well. And yet when Jobs announced it on stage, it surprised everyone that had been writing about it and thinking about it and dreaming about it for years.
By the way, let me interrupt. Yeah, I remember driving to that event with you and us saying they're supposed to do it today, but come on, they're not really going to announce a phone and it's not really going to happen. So I can appreciate that thought, that even though it's talked about, if they actually do it, it's big news.
Yeah, that'd be my surprise from Apple.
Doug?
I'll try to be more shocking, and I'll say that 2022 will be more about the Apple car than the MR headset. That'll be my bold prediction. And the rationale is simple for me. I think if there's one thing with Apple that they've been consistent on, is that they've never worried about being early to any party. I think MR, VR, AR is still very early. I know we've been talking about it for a really long time. Just look at the device numbers. You look at the use cases. We're still early. I mean, it's a fact that it's still very early. And I think that Apple has had a tendency to want to really get the products right, make something truly magical that blows people's minds. And so for me, I think we might still be a year away from that. So I'll take the unpopular bet and say, I think we don't hear about an MR headset from Apple until next year. But I do think the EV thing, we're not that early anymore. Everybody knows EVs are the future. Gene, you and I were talking about this yesterday about Tesla. Everybody is making EVs. Baidu in China is a search company. They're making EVs. And so, I mean, I think you look at that and it feels like there may be a little bit more pressure for Apple to move faster on a car. And so I think the dark horse is maybe something more comes out about a car instead of an MR headset.
So just to be clear, not that they actually make a car available, but we just hear more rumors and more substance behind it.
More substance, yeah, and you're right. I don't think they'll announce a car. That'd be truly shocking, I think, for everybody if they announce that. But I think more rumors, maybe more substance around the team, or really what they have planned. I mean, I think it's still a question as to whether they're actually going to build a car, or is it more of, sort of this software layer where they maybe deeply integrate with a partner and do it together. Maybe that's what we learned this year.
So from my perspective, I think the big surprise is going to be Apple's going to announce and ship a television, something that would make a ton of sense. And of course, I can't carry it on any further and say I was just making sure people were still listening.
Inside joke.
Inside joke.
If anybody missed it, yeah.
I don't think Apple's going to come out with a TV. Tim, if you're listening, just throw us a bone, throw me a bone one of these years. Just slap Apple TV, go and get an LG display on it and rebrand it and just ship a few units. I'll buy one for sure. You got one in the bag.
The Roku model.
The Roku model. Did, right? Yeah. I'm fully off topic right now. Just to be clear, do not think Apple's going to come out with a TV. And a quiet moment. A quiet moment when. Pardon, Andrew?
Do you have a surprise coming?
Oh, the surprise. I agree with you, Andrew. Is I think that they are going to show a mixed reality headset this year. When I say it, there's something in me that just says, "Man, it just like the iPhone. Like, is it really going to happen?" I think if it does happen, my view is that shares of Apple would react positively on that because that's big, and they're not going to do a ton of units. IDC is expecting like Oculus is going to do like 5 million units, or did 5 million units in 2021, and maybe that grows to 7 or 10 million in 2022. Apple's going to do about 260 million iPhones this year, so it's still, this wearable is still nascent, but I think it would be a pop. So I'm on the same page as you, Andrew. I've had a ton of fun over these years working on Apple with both of you. Couldn't think of better people to do it, and safe to say we're still going to be tuned in on the day-to-day with this company. They're making our lives better, and we love following along as they continue to build that. So on behalf of Andrew, Doug, Gene, and Loup, bye for now.